Hi, I'm Bill Somack, and in this video we're going to talk about slurred bowing, which is playing more than one note on each bow. So the beginning point for discussing slurred bowing is to talk about the bow as real estate. So if you see the bow, the total amount of bow that you have to work with goes from here all the way down to here. So whatever number of notes that you put in a bow, this is the amount of bow that you have to work with going in each direction. So we can think about that in terms of bow division. So where you're putting certain note values or certain numbers of notes in the bow. So how you're distributing the bow length between notes. So that's bow division, and then that gets into bow management. So you're managing how you distribute those notes on a particular bow. So we're going to start with 2 notes to the bow, and the idea here is that we're going to start out learning to divide the bow equally between these number of notes. So in the first example, it's going to be dividing the bow in half because we only have 2 notes. So here's what that looks like. So now if you were to go 3 notes to a bow, you would divide the bow into 3 parts. So this is what that would look like. And if you went to 4 notes to a bow, it might look something like this. So now one very helpful tool that you can use as you're working on learning slurred bowing is the metronome. So what you can do is you can set this on a certain number of clicks. So I'm going to start, for this example, I'm going to put it on 60, which is 1 click per clock second. So 60 seconds in a minute, so a 60 is a clock second. So what I'm going to do is, for this example, I'm going to use 4 notes to a bow. So I've got the metronome on. So you can use this to help you with your bow distribution. So you change the note on the click. So I'm going to put 4 of these in 1 bow. So that's the way I used the metronome to help me with 4 notes per bow. So now what you can do is you can slow down the metronome, and I'm going to slow it down. Right now it's at 60, so I'm going to slow it down to 50. So you can change the tempo on the metronome, going slower or faster. What's really great about that is that that not only helps you with your bow division, helps as an aid for your bow division, knowing when to change the note, but also if you go slower, it will help you to be able to build your muscle memory for bow speed, or going slower or faster. So if you want to learn how to draw the bow more slowly, you can slow that down, and so that you have to be really much more thoughtful with how you divide the bow, because you're going to have to make sure to save the bow and move the bow more slowly to get that number of notes into the bow. So a metronome is a really great tool for helping with bow division. And then of course later, when you get into mixing up multiple note values in a bow, then you'll have a whole nother set of choices when you're playing tunes. So for instance, I was doing So I mixed up the note values, so you'll be needing to make choices with those when you get into playing tunes, and whatever the music dictates as far as how many notes and how many different kinds of note values you would be needing to put in each bow. So those bowing choices would come later. But meanwhile, the metronome can be a really great help to help you to build that muscle memory, being able to divide the bow equally, starting say with 2 notes to a bow, 3 notes to a bow, 4 notes to a bow. That's a good starting point for building muscle memory for how to divide the bow. And then later on, you'll be mixing up different note values as you're putting different pieces of music into bows. That'll come later, but meanwhile, it's really good to be able to learn how to divide the bow equally between different numbers of notes. And if you're interested, I go into a little bit more depth with slurred bowing patterns in my Bill's Play Free method, which is linked in the description below in this video, so you can go there. I have specific slurred bowing patterns that you can work on by call and response, which will be good training for doing different numbers of notes in the bow. So I have membership plans. I have a monthly membership plan. If you're interested, you can cancel anytime. So that's something that you can consider if you want to go into greater depth with slurred bowing.